everybody. We got about 5 minutes before we start, so just hang out there for a little bit. I don't have my music on because I got yelled at by Facebook when I had music on, so I'm not going to put any music on today. Hope everyone is doing fine in your quarantined areas. I know I'm doing good. Erica, my daughter, who's in college, though, is not doing so good. She is very antsy being at home. So it's kind of funny to see her around the house. I worked from home for about 20 years, so I'm used to being at home. It doesn't bother me. I just watched Dr. Phil get some work done. I had a lot of Zoom meetings this week, though. I had 6 Zoom meetings, 7. Today's Wednesday, right? Everyone forgets what day it is when you're at home. So I had 7 Zoom meetings so far this week. I have 2 more tomorrow, and I think 3 or 4 on Friday. So it's a crazy week. Let's see. So Ron, I'm hoping this wood's going to last for your bowl. I'm going to talk a little bit about Kentucky Coffee Tree, but it cracks a lot. So I'm hoping that this bowl survives by the time we're done with it and it dries. I've had the wood sitting around for about 5 years, so it should be pretty dry. But every time I've turned Kentucky Coffee Tree, I'd say 75% of the bowls have cracked. So I don't get very many surviving Kentucky Coffee Tree bowls. But I hope yours survives. So we got a couple minutes yet. We have a couple minutes yet. Just grab something to drink, get comfortable, and then we'll start at around 6:30 once I get everyone in that wants to watch it. Thank you all for watching this. This is kind of fun for me to do. It's not very often I get people that watch me want to turn bowls. And actually, I've had some people ask me to teach them how to turn bowls. So that may be something I start late summer or early fall. I might give one-on-one classes about it. As long as people aren't afraid of it. That's the biggest thing, is you can't be afraid of it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I think it's about 6:30. Excuse me. I have some allergies. It's not the coronavirus. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Kentucky Coffee Tree. Now, this Kentucky Coffee Tree is a very unusual tree. It's not found very much where I live in central PA. It's found a lot in the south. It actually used to be the state tree of Kentucky. Hi, Mike. But there is only one place in Mount Joy in Lancaster County that I know of that has Kentucky Coffee Tree, and that is at Cameron Estate Inn in East Donegal Township, or it's also called Mount Joy. So this tree is very unusual. When I first saw it, the owners of the property and I didn't know what kind of tree it was, and it took us a couple of months to figure it out. And then we figured out it was Kentucky Coffee Tree. So they cut it down, and I fell in love with it right away. I'm going to show you why. This is the inside of the tree. So most trees, the bark is not this thick, and it is definitely not that reddish color. So Kentucky Coffee Tree is kind of unusual. It has this red bark, and then there's this really little cream colored bark right above the wood of the tree. And the bark is very, very thick. So as you can see, this is just one part of a cross section of the bark of the tree. And the wood itself is kind of interesting because it's kind of like walnut. Let me show you what walnut looks like. So I have a piece of walnut here, and walnut has some thick bark too, and then walnut has this cream color and this dark wood. So this is American walnut. But Kentucky Coffee Tree is a little bit different. So Kentucky Coffee Tree has that really red bark, and then it has this cream color sapwood, and then this wood, which is more of an orangish, kind of a light brown orange, reddish orange color. But the thing I really like about Kentucky Coffee Tree is the rings are very pronounced in this. Where with walnut, sometimes you'll see some rings that are showing. In apple, you might see some. But Kentucky Coffee Tree, you can really tell where the rings are in that tree. And I know it might be a little hard to see. So that's why I really like using this wood. And it's kind of hard for me to find. So when I find it, I get a whole bunch of it. And I think this is one of my last 6 pieces of Kentucky Coffee Tree I have. So this is Ron's bowl. Ron wanted me to make a bowl out of Kentucky Coffee Tree. I happen to have some, so I made this beautiful piece for Ron's bowl, and hopefully this will survive at the end. What I was telling people in the very beginning is Kentucky Coffee Tree is a tree where the wood cracks so easily. And there are a lot of cracks in this piece already. There's a small crack there. There's another crack around here. So I'm hoping that this will survive by the time we're done. So this is what the wood looks like without any oil. But what I wanted to do is oil this side to really show you kind of what it's going to look like when it's done. Now this is an interesting piece of wood. This is a piece of wood from a part of a tree called a crotch. Now a crotch in a tree is when you have a trunk and then the 2 limbs separate. This part right in the middle where those 2 limbs connected is called the crotch. Makes sense? So this area right here is the most interesting part of this piece. So this is where the branches split. So if you were to hold the bowl like this, the trunk of the tree came up this way, and then one branch grew this way, and one branch grew this way, and then this part in the middle is where those 2 branches were joined. So this area right here is called feathering, and it's also called angel step and some other stuff. And most of the wood that I get, since I have so much wood already, I specifically look for crotch pieces just so I can get this kind of figure in the wood. So this figure goes all the way from this side, and it's not as easy to see on this side, but you could see it right here. So this goes through the entire piece of wood. So I picked this bowl for Ron because it's going to be a nice bowl. Hopefully it will not crack. So Ron, we'll have to see after I make this bowl. I'm going to let it sit for a week or 2 to see if it cracks. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a different view than I usually do in my videos. I'm going to show you this side, and then we're going to flip it around when we do the inside and show you what the inside looks like. So I'm going to move you a little closer so you can kind of see some of the stuff that I do from this end. So let's go ahead and get started and have some fun with this. And if you haven't watched the video before, you're probably going, what is that horrible noise? Well, that is my drill that's ready to die. So what I do is I screw this faceplate on the one side of the lathe of my wood, and that screws into my lathe. So that way when I'm turning the wood doesn't fly off at me. So we're going to go ahead and get this on, see how stable it is. Good. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And I always wear my face mask. It's not just for the coronavirus. It is to protect my face from getting smacked in the head with wood. Because sometimes it happens where the wood just explodes, and then you can get hit in the face with it. The other thing I really like about Kentucky Coffee Tree is it finishes really, really nice. So as long as there's no major defects in it, uh-oh. I'll talk about that in a minute. It sands out really nice and it finishes like a really high polish, which is really nice. So I'm taking a look at the cracks on the outside that may be present as we go through it. There's a huge crack right here where the knot is. I kind of like that. I'm going to keep that there. The only crack I'm worried about right now is this little one right here. We're going to see it's horizontal and perpendicular. It's kind of like a right angle. So that's usually not a good sign. But we're going to go ahead and work with it and kind of see what we get. There's another little crack right here, which I'm not that worried about. So Ron, I think this bowl will survive. There may be a crack right here we may have to do something with. But these cracks over here are going to be more aesthetic. I don't know if you guys can pick it up, but here is that feathering that I showed you. Can you guys see that? This is where it goes through the entire piece, so that feathering is going to be through the entire bowl right along the bottom, which is going to be really nice. So let me go ahead and work on the bottom here, and we'll start sanding it and see if I can find any other cracks that might open up. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move the camera just a little bit so I can go ahead and sand so I'm not in the way. So excuse my big head if it gets in the way here. Move you guys over here. And then for those of you who've seen other bowls, I normally don't sand the whole entire way, but today I'm going to because I don't think it's going to be too hard to sand this piece. Sometimes sanding can take 20 minutes. I don't think it's going to take that long for this one. So what's new in everybody's world as I'm sanding this? Anything new you guys want to chat about? I don't know if I could see the questions as often, but... Is everyone still working? So instead of sanding the normal way, sometimes I use that sander if there's some hard to reach spots. And with the 2 knots that I have in here, sometimes the sandpaper bumps around so it doesn't sand everything perfectly smooth. Once I get that through, then I can go ahead and sand with regular sandpaper, and it seems to work a lot better. So I'm going to move this so you guys can start to see the shine that comes on the bowl. Once you start sanding, it's easier to see from this point of view. So we'll see how good you guys can see the shine. This is only 150 grit sandpaper, and as you do it, you can start to see some of the shine that comes through. It's very smooth already. That's the one thing about Kentucky Coffee Tree. It sands, like I said, really, really nice. So that's really smooth, and that's only 150 grit. We're going to go up to 500 tonight and get it as smooth as a baby's bottom. Oh, Hope, tell Bennett, if Bennett's watching, tell him this is a Kentucky coffee tree. And I want to show you the bark, because he'll get a kick out of seeing the bark. So this is a tree, Hope, that you can't really find too much around Mount Joy, definitely, or Central PA. But the inside of the bark is red instead of brown. And it's a really cool tree. It's got cream color sapwood, and then an orange or an orange-brown reddish, depending on where the tree is, heartwood. And the rings are really, really prominent. So it's got a really unique ring structure. That's why I like the tree. So Bennett, if you ever see a tree that has bark like this, it's a Kentucky coffee tree. And the beans of the tree has these really long pods. They're probably about, I don't know, 6 inches to 8 inches long. And inside those pods, they have little beans. And in the Depression in 1930s, they used to take those beans, dry them out, grind them up, and then they would make coffee out of it. And that's why it was called a coffee tree. So it was horrible tasting coffee, they say, but it was at least something that they could drink during the Depression when you couldn't afford regular coffee. So Don Lee, where do I get my wood? The Kentucky coffee tree I got from the owner of the tree in Mount Joy. All my other wood I pretty much get for free. I've had 3 people this week on Facebook email me or message me and say they know someone who has a tree that's being cut down. Do I want any of the wood? So I'll go out to the place where the tree is and then pick up a couple of pieces of wood. Arborists that I know, Timber's tree in Mount Joy is great for me. Every time they cut down a tree, he kind of knows what tree I like, what kind of wood I like, what kind of pieces of wood I like, and then he calls me and lets me know where the tree is and how long the wood's going to be there. So then I show up and I just kind of throw a couple of pieces in my minivan. And yes, I have a minivan, but I only use it to take wood around. So it's a truck. It's not a minivan. So, okay, so this is 180 grit. And you can see the very prominent ring structure of the Kentucky coffee tree. Hopefully you guys can pick that up. You'll see it from the other end when we flip it around. This is a crack I'm worried about right here because it's a right angle crack. It's not just a crack that goes up. It's not a crack that goes over. It's a crack that intersects like that, and that's usually not a good thing. But Ron, you didn't hear that. So we're going to go ahead and make this bowl anyway. So now you're going to really start to see the wood shine. So hopefully you guys can see that. Let me lower the camera a little bit and see if you guys can see it a little bit better. So if you take a look at the wood now, hopefully the camera will be able to pick it up, because when I start doing 220 and higher, the wood really starts to shine. So I don't know if you guys can pick that up, but it is shiny. I can see my reflection off it a little bit. And you can see this is the angel wings, or the crotch area. You can see how it kind of is different than the rest of the wood, and it's right next to a branch. And this tree was actually attacked by bugs. You can see the little bug holes in here. And which is nice is not only is there angel wing over here, but on this part there's also a little bit of I don't know if you would call it curl. We'll have to take a look at it. It's a little bit of a curl. It's more I don't know. It's kind of tough to say what it is. Here's the other branch. So remember when I was saying there were two branches? Here's a branch and here's a branch, and right there you go is in the middle, and you can see how the rings are wide apart here, and then they get really, really tight over here, and then they get super tight right here. You can't even see them. And then they kind of branch out again. They bend around. Kentucky coffee tree is an awesome piece of wood. Too bad there's not more of it around. All right, so we're going to go to 500 grit. All right, so hopefully you guys can see the shine coming off that. I'm going to go ahead and just buff it up with this cloth a little bit, and then we're going to put some oil on it and show you what the oil does to the color. And we're going to use teak oil. I use different kinds of oil on my bowls. I've been using a lot of teak oil lately because I've been doing a lot of light colored wood. So light colored wood I use teak oil. Dark colored wood or apple and fruit woods I use tung oil. And I just like it because the oil does something different based on what kind of oil it is. So you can see when you add oil to it how the color really changes into more of a, I don't know, it's kind of a burnt orange maybe. But it really takes it out of that very plain color into this really vibrant. It's kind of like if you know what Osage orange looks like. It kind of looks like that a little bit. And it's very, very smooth. And actually, Ron, the good thing is when I put this oil on, you can't really see that one crack as well. So I think we're going to be okay. I'm going to go ahead and polish this up with the oil. Yes, Donna Lee, the end product is going to be a bowl. And I'll give you guys measurements after I flip this around to the other side. All right, so let's go ahead and flip this around. Give you guys some measurements here. Okay, so this bowl right now will probably end up being about 9.5 inches in diameter, and I'd say about 2.5 inches tall. So that would be a good fruit bowl, candy dish. You can use it for bread, salad, if you wanted to. So let me show you what the outside of this looks like up close. So this is one of the branches, and you see a little bit of figuring right here. I think this is the crack that I was talking about. So this is the crack that goes up, and then it goes over a little bit. So right here is what I'm worried about. But I think it'll be okay. I don't think it's that bad. So this is the very dense grain pattern of Kentucky Coffee Tree. And then you go over to this side and you see the swirl, which is really cool. And then the grain really spreads out, and then that's where you see that figuring. Let me see if I can show it to you this way a little bit. So that's where you see the figuring on the outside, and then there's the branch. These are bug holes, so bugs have eaten the center of the tree, or at least that branch. And then on the other side, there's this little, I don't know, I guess you would call it chatons, or I don't know what you would call it, like a little, I just call it reflection. So a little bit of a mirror reflection in there. And then the grain gets kind of wacky again, and then it goes back around to the other side. So this is really, really cool wood. So I'm going to go ahead and move the camera so you guys get to see the rest of my dirty old shop as I put you on the other side of my lathe. And we're going to work on the inside of the bowl. So let me just reconfigure some of this. One of these days I'll get 2 cameras and be professional about it. Alright, let's see how this works. I think that's going to be pretty good. Make some adjustments here. Alright. Well, that adjustment didn't go too well. Alright. That'll happen if you don't know what you're doing. Alright. Let's make this adjustment again. Trying to move too many different directions at once. Maybe I gotta take my mask off so I can see what I'm doing. Alright. Oh, I know what happened. One of my legs collapsed on me. See if I can do this without that leg. There you go. All right. Now we can see the inside. All right. So now we're going to flip it around. We're going to do the inside of the bowl. Sorry about that. Like I said, I'm not a professional. Don't try to be. So what I did on the back, for those of you who haven't seen one of these before, I made something on the back called a tenon, which is just another mini circle on the back of the wood, and that sits inside here, and this holds the bowl on so it doesn't fly off when I'm doing the inside. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little light because I like a lot of light. Maybe that might be too much for the camera. See if I can bring it down a little bit. I like a lot of light when I'm turning the inside because I like to definitely see what I'm doing. Right. Let me just adjust this a little bit. All right, that should be pretty good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start working on the inside. This is where we're going to find out if those cracks are too deep. Because if I go too deep and you all of a sudden see there's no bowl left, then you know those cracks were too deep. So let's go ahead and get started. So as I'm turning the ball, I always like to turn the lathe on and off and see how thin I'm going. You might notice that every now and then the bowl slows down as I'm turning. When I hit different densities of the wood, sometimes it slows the lathe down. So if you can see it, right here is the branch. Let me move this so you can see a little bit better. So right here is the branch that comes out where that big crack is over here. And then it goes through to the other side. So I thought there were two separate branches. This was the whole entire branch from one side to the other. So this wood is very dense as compared to this wood over here. So it throws me off a little bit when I'm turning because the lathe hits different densities of the wood. There's also a big crack right here. I'm not that worried about it. I don't think it's going to ruin the bowl. I still have a little bit of ways to go through. But I'm not going to make the bowl too thin. I normally make my bowls about 1/4 of an inch to just under 1/2 of an inch thick. So this will be a little bit on the thicker side, a little bit over 1/4 of an inch, I think. But you can see, here's that feathering that I talked about. If you guys can pick it up, kind of angle it a little bit. Maybe I'll turn this off so you can see it a little bit better. So here's that feathering that I was talking about that went through the entire bowl. So in this bowl, this feathering is going to be really nice on the bottom of this bowl. So it's going to add a really, really cool feature to this bowl. Is that a question? Bennett wants to know when and where you will sell bowls. I'll tell you, Bennett, at the end of this. I'm going to start my online store soon, and all the bowl shows have been canceled that I normally go to because of the coronavirus. So we'll have to see when the next bowl show will be. Hopefully in November. That might be my next show in November, but I'll let you know. So this is going to be a really cool feature. It goes through the entire piece of wood, so it's a really, really nice feature. And it's going to be neat with this branch that goes through, because this will be a different color than the rest of the wood. This will be a darker color, and then this will be a lighter color. So let's keep working on this. That wasn't good. So that branch is really dense right there. So it took a little chunk out of the bowl. I'm going to see if I can go ahead and smooth that out a little bit. Get a different tool, I think. Try and figure. That's a hard thing, is when you're turning bowls, you don't know what you're going to hit. So as much as I love Kentucky Coffee Tree, sometimes it can be a pain to turn. So I'm going to go ahead and see what I can use for that part right now. So I almost had that side where I gouged it fixed up. I'm not worried about it. It's going to be fixed. I'm just almost through to the point where I want to maybe stop. I always like to feel with my fingers. I have other calipers I can use. I don't know where they are right now. Some bowl turners will use these calipers to kind of measure the thickness the whole way through. I think it's easier just using your fingers. Seems to be... I'm a more of a tactile person, so I guess I like to do it that way instead. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and work on getting down to the final depth of our bowl and thickness that we want. I use different tools too, so if you guys haven't been on this before, I just want to show you the tools I use. When I'm doing the outside of the bowl, I use this tool called a gouge. This is a long, somewhat pointy kind of tool, a little bit rounded at the top. It has sharpening on the sides and the front. I have 6 of these and I grind them different ways. Every bowl turner kind of likes to have theirs ground a certain way. And when I get them from the store, I just regrind them the way I like to grind them. And it's all based on how you like to turn and how you like to feel the wood being cut. We have, let's see, these kind of funky looking tools. These are tools that you use to get in the bottom of the bowl. I'm not going to use it on this one, but other bowls I use it. They're little things called scrapers. And then we have my favorite tool in the whole world is this side scraper. I use it almost on every bowl. And I need to buy a new one because I'm wearing this one out. So I will go ahead and buy one soon. This gets along the sides of the bowl, so it gives you a nice finish on the inside. That's why I like to use it. And then I also like to use this, which is a round nose scraper. This is the next tool I'm going to use. And they're all ground at different angles and different thicknesses and curves. And I'm going to use this to go ahead and smooth the bottom of the bowl out. And I also like to use a tool like this. This is a skew. So this does some sharpening on the, or some smoothing on the outside. I have a lot of tools. I don't know how many I have. I don't know. This is just like half the tools I have. I don't use them all on the bowls. I guess you can say I'm kind of a tool hoarder a little bit, but they all are ground at different angles and I use them for different things. So I need them all. So that's what I tell my wife. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get to the thickness that I want on this bowl. Alright, I felt a little piece of wood fly out and hit me, and it was this little niche right here where the crack is, so I'm not that worried about it. When you get really sharp tools, as you're turning the wood, you can kind of see where the tool isn't hitting, and I was pretty happy because I think this is a really smooth finish on the inside. Let me turn the light off, give you guys a better look at it. So this is going to be the bottom of the bowl. It is about, I'd say just over 1/4 of an inch. Look at that. It's just at 1/4 of an inch. Woo! Sometimes you're lucky. The bottom is a little bit thicker. I wanted to keep it a little bit thicker because of this crack here. If I go too thin, I'm worried this crack will just break this bowl in half. So I went a little bit thicker on the bottom, and on the bottom here it's a little bit thicker, just because of this crack here and this crack here. So Ron, this would not be a great salad bowl because the salad dressing will go right through, but it will be a really good fruit bowl and a really good candy dish and potato chips, pretzels, potpourri, anything as long as it's not liquid. You should be good with it. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this and hopefully show you what this feathering looks like. And I'm really happy with it because it kind of looks like, I don't know if you can see it, it kind of looks like a Christmas tree. So it's got a wide bottom and then it goes narrow at the top. So it's kind of like a Christmas tree. Maybe we'll call this, we can't call this bowl the Christmas tree bowl because it's April. So we'll have to call it something else. We'll just call it Ron's bowl. I think that's what we'll call it. So let me go ahead and sand the inside, show you guys what that looks like. And then we'll put some oil on it, and then we'll flip it around and do the back. Maybe I'll even put a little bit of wax on it tonight. I normally don't wax it right away, but maybe I'll put a little bit of wax on it and show you guys what that looks like. Any questions before I start sanding the inside? Let's see. I don't think there's any question. Oh. Must you resharpen my tools for each bowl? Not for every bowl. It depends on the wood that I'm using. Kentucky Coffee Tree is kind of a hard wood, so I will sharpen my tools after this. If I'm doing walnut, I normally don't have to sharpen between bowls. If I'm doing oak, I do need to sharpen. Cherry and apple, I really don't need to sharpen between tools. So I'm calling this a camera bowl since the tree came from the tree. Yeah. That's right, we could call it the camera bowl. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and start sanding on the inside. The hardest part about sanding the inside will be this part. Because this is such a unique area of the wood, the fibers aren't straight. They're kind of stretched. So you're going to have some high spots and some low spots. And it's hard to sand and get a really smooth finish. But so far, it is actually coming out pretty smooth. Just some spots I want to sand by hand before we go on to the next grit. That's good. All right. Let's move on to another grit. Yeah, sanding is the most boring part of bowl making. So as I get into these higher grits, I'm at 150 right now. Again, you should start to be able to see the inside of the wood shine. Hopefully with this light you'll be able to see it a little bit better. 180 will start, which is the next grit that I'm going to, and then 220 really shows it. You guys see that? Really cool. I really like this wood. I should keep it for myself. All right, so hopefully we'll start to see some shine here. So that's with 220 grit, and you start to see some of the shine of the wood coming through. And that's just sandpaper. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's really, really prominent now, that angel step. Turn this light off so you can see a little bit better. You guys see that? Put this light on. Oh, that light is on. So you can see that center, as I turn the bowl, how it changes color. Oh, you could really see it there. So you can see that angel step right here, upside down. Well, it depends how you want to hold it. That could be right side up. That's actually probably the way it was in the tree, because it's usually a bit bigger the closer you get to where the branches split. So we're going to go ahead and do my 500 grit. I might do 800 grit on the inside tonight, just to give it a bit more of a shine for Ron. Alright, so that's 500 grit. And let's go up a little bit higher than that. Oh, what do I got here? What grit is this? 800 grit. So we'll do 800 grit for you, Ron. I normally don't go this high on bowls. I normally stay at 500, so we'll do 800. Okay, so that was 800 grit. We're going to go ahead and put some oil on it. And you should be able to see that angel hair really stand out now. You really see that shine? Turn this off, give you guys a better look at that. So you can really see that angel hair, or angel step. What do I call it? Angel hair? Angel step really stand out. So as I turn the bowl around, you'll be able to see what it looks like from different angles. Let me go ahead and just put my oil away. So this is your angel step. Really cool, really awesome. That's why I love getting crotch pieces of wood. I just get it for that feature right there. And as you turn the bowl around, you can see it looks really nice there, the way the light hits it. Really cool feature of this wood. And it's not just in Kentucky Coffee Tree, it's in any wood that you get where the branches split. So if you ever want a bowl and you have a piece of that, let me know. So I'm going to go ahead and shine this up with the oil, and then I'm going to put a little bit of wax on it. Alright, so the wax that I use is nothing special. It's just really paste wax. It's just regular furniture wax. It's not that stuff in the spray can, though. I don't use that kind of stuff. This is actually paste wax that you put on. You let it dry for a second, and then you go ahead and buff it off. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Alright, we're going to let that dry just for a second. You guys have any questions for me as this dries? I don't always wax on my bowls either. I only wax certain ones. Ones with features like this really stand up really nice to wax. Some of the other bowls, it doesn't matter if you wax it or not. You really won't notice that much of a difference. Let's see, any questions? Nope. Cool. All right, so let me make sure this is still, yep, it's ready to go ahead and buff out. Now look at that baby shine. Woo! It just really makes everything stand out just a little bit more. So again, there's that angel step. Looks really nice if you hold it that way, this way. And you can see the difference in the color of the wood. So this is where that one branch was. And you see how dark it is over here, but then the rest of the wood is really light. And you can see the really prominent rings right here. And then you can see the way the rings bend around. And then you see this whole angel step area. I like to call it feathering too, because it kind of looks like a feather. Sometimes it's not really this prominent. Sometimes it's just a little bit. I was very lucky to get a piece and cut it just the right way and really showed it off. So we're going to go ahead and take this off, and we're going to work on the bottom. So if you remember, if you were here earlier, I showed you how I held this on the bottom with that little nub right there. Now we're going to turn that little nub off, and just so you guys know, this is the crack on the inside that I showed you. That same crack is right here on the outside. So if I want any thinner than what I did, this bowl could have actually broke right at that spot. This whole half could have just flown off. So that's why I want to keep it a little bit thicker. So we're going to go ahead and use another tool I have to finish the outside, or the bottom I should say. Alright, let's see if I have this adjusted right or if I'm going to have to go ahead and readjust everything. Oh, should work. I got to tell you, every bowl thing I made, I had to use this. I hate this. I'm worried. It scares me because it sounds like an airplane engine every time I use it. You hear that? And the other thing is, these things stick out. They're even with the bottom of the bowl, but sometimes I get my finger caught in them, and I can't tell you how many bruises I have on my fingers from smacking these. And these are coated with a really little thin piece of rubber, just enough to take the sting off, but it still hurts like crap. So I'm going to try and be careful tonight and not get my finger caught in those. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the bottom off, flatten the bottom of the bowl, and then I'm going to take my little rotary sander and sand the bottom of it. All right, here we go. Alright, I'm not going to spend the time to go ahead and sand the bottom on the video. I'm just going to get my rotary sander and sand it. I try and keep the bottom of my bowls pretty plain. No one really looks at the bottom anyway. But I also have a wood brand, and I have to have somewhat of a flat surface to brand my little logo on the bottom of the bowl. So I kind of keep it a little indented. It's just a nice, even, nice, smooth finish. So I'm going to show you guys this bowl up close, and then tell you to go to my Facebook page later on tonight. What time is it now? It's about 10 of 8 right now, probably around, I don't know, 9:30 by the time I get to it. I'm going to go ahead and take pictures of this and put some nice arty pictures up on my Facebook page. So this is, again, the outside of the bowl. We'll start here with the branches. So there's where the crack is. I'm going to go ahead and clean that up a little bit. The crack's going to stay. I'm just going to clean it up so it looks a little bit nicer. And then you have the large wood ring pattern, large wood grain pattern, which I really like in Kentucky Coffee Tree. Because I like it because you really see the detail of the little grain rings. So I think it's kind of nice. And then you have the more dense pattern, and then the extremely dense pattern, and then there's that little crack that really didn't get any bigger than what it did right there. So Ron, we'll have to watch this over the next week or so and see if that gets any bigger. I don't think it will because it is dry wood, but we'll see. Fingerprints. And then you get into the swooshy pattern of the grain, and then it gets a more curve to it. So it's all over the place. And then big, you get that little curl right there. And then it goes back to the branch. And then there's that angel step starts right there, the feathering. And then on the inside, this is the inside of the bowl. So you can see it close. So you can see right here, this is where the one branch was, right here. So the grain pattern is much different. It's darker than the other side, but right there is that feathering or angel step. And as you turn it, you can kind of see that it goes through the entire bowl. So it starts there and goes there. And I kind of wish I had more of the wood, because I bet on this part it actually goes down another maybe 4 or 5 inches. But alas, I only got this piece. That was it. I could always go back and get more if I wanted to. So that is a pretty cool bowl. So again, that's Kentucky Coffee Tree. It's a wood that's not found very much in central PA. And again, the only place I know about it is at Cameron Estates. So thank you guys for watching. I want to show you guys the next bowl I'm going to make if you guys are interested. And then that's the bottom. It's just a nice little indentation. So I'm going to go ahead and sand that and then oil that once this is over. But I want to show you guys the next batch of wood that I have. I went out a couple of days ago and someone had walnuts that they were just storing and they didn't know what to do with it. No one would take it. And Lancaster County and most of Pennsylvania, there's a virus through walnut, so people won't take it for logging or making anything because you can't transport it. So this is my next bowl I'm going to make. This is a regular American walnut, and it has spalting in it, which is kind of rare. I don't really see a whole lot of walnut with spalting in it. And spalting are these black lines that go through the wood. So you see the black lines really easy in the sapwood, but then in the heartwood, there is spalting. I can see it on this end that there's black going through the walnut. So it's going to be a really cool look. And these are nice thick pieces. These are, let me get my tape measure. These are about 3 3/4 of an inch by 9.5 inches. So by the time we're done, you're probably going to have like a 9-inch bowl by a 3-inch bowl height. And I have a couple of these. I have this one and this one. This one really shows the spalting a lot. Right there's a nice black line. There's some black lines in here. So there's some black right here throughout. I don't know if you can see it there if I put the light on. No, you can't see it that way. A lot of black lines, and I think there's some curl in here. I haven't proven it, but when I was cutting it, my bandsaw kept getting pulled up, so usually that means there's some curl in it. And then I have this monster piece here. This is almost 4 inches by 9 3/4 inch. So I'm going to give the guy a bowl or two from his wood, but when I picked this up, there was about 600 pounds of it, so I have more outside. And since it's already spalting, I'm letting it outside to spalt more. So when I turn it, there's going to be a lot of black lines going through the walnut, which is going to look really nice. But the grain pattern of this is really wacky too. There's a lot of cracks, so we'll have to see how the cracks turn out. But the grain pattern is really cool. And the nice thing about walnut, this has some purple in it. So you have some purple, you have some brown, you have some black, you have some cream. These bowls are going to be, I hope, if they survive. I always say if they survive. These bowls are going to be really, really awesome. So those are going to be the next couple of bowls I'm going to turn. I'll probably turn 1 or 2 this weekend. I don't know if I'll have a live video this weekend or not. But I have another piece of Kentucky Coffee Tree I could turn as well. This one has a hole right through the middle of it, so that's going to be kind of fun. This is going to be a really odd shaped piece of wood because it's really thin over there, thick over there, and it's got a big old hole in the middle. So that's the kind of wood I like, really wonky wood that you never know what you're going to get when you're done with it. So I might turn that this weekend. Then I have this piece of Kentucky Coffee Tree, which has spalting in it. I just found this right before we did the video. This is a smaller piece, so this might just be a little, I don't know, a little bowl. How about that? But it's got some spalting right here. So I'm curious as to how that's going to go. I haven't really seen spalting in Kentucky Coffee Tree before, so I didn't want to make this as your bowl, Ron, because I don't know if this bowl is going to survive at all. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys learned something. And you guys have any questions before we go ahead and, let's see, you should show us sometime how you cut those pieces with your bandsaw. That's a good idea. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I have a couple of videos where I do a start to finish of the bowl. Let me turn this so maybe you guys can see me a little if you want to. So I have a couple of videos where I do a start to finish, where I take a log and then I take it to my bandsaw, cut it down, take it to the lathe, make the bowl. Maybe I'll do one of those. I have the video already recorded, and I want to put it on my YouTube channel, which I'm building. So maybe I'll do that for one of them. I don't like showing what I do in the bandsaw because it's very dangerous. I don't do it safely, and I'll tell you that right now. I did have a bandsaw accident. For those of you who were on the last video, I explained. I don't know how many years ago it was, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, maybe even longer than that. I had a bandsaw accident where I cut my finger from here to here down to the bone on my bandsaw, and I can't feel anything in my hand from here all the way down to here pretty much. I could feel some in my thumb, but like right around here it ends. I cut a nerve or two, and I just can't feel anything. So, yeah, I do kind of some dangerous things on the bandsaw, so I don't know if I want to show it. I have to think about how I want to do that, because I don't want to give anyone the wrong impression that you guys can all do this with a bandsaw and then end up cutting your fingers off, and then I'm liable for it. So, you guys have any other questions before I sign off? If not, I'm going to go ahead and sign off and finish the bottom of this bowl. Like I said, around 9:30 or so, take a look at my Facebook page, and I'll have some pictures on it. This bowl won't be for sale because it's Ron's bowl. So, Ron, this is your bowl. So we'll work out a price on it then. But if anyone else has any kind of wood that they want to see me make, let me know, or any kind of bowls you guys want me to make. A lot of the bowls that I'm going to be making on these are going to be for sale. I made a bowl and I sold 2 of them so far, and it was highest bidder. So instead of me telling you what I would charge for it, since all my shows are canceled anyway, I'm going to let you guys let me know what you think you would pay for that bowl. So why don't you guys let me know what you think you'll pay for this bowl once I put pictures up there, and then Ron can let me know what he wants to pay for the bowl, and then Ron will get it for what he wants to pay for it. But thanks for watching. I hope you guys had some fun. I like doing it. Hope you guys don't think it's too boring, and I hope my voice isn't too annoying. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Maybe we'll do this on the weekend again. See ya. Stay safe. Wear your masks outside if you go outside.